Hey you guys, welcome. It's the Donovan Sadiq Show. I am on here, and guess what we are talking about? We are talking about Marcel Dixon and actually Tamara Johnson Shealy and the new grassroots black leadership, possibly future black leadership. Now you have a lot of people out here who are jumping in the streets, and it's mostly the civil rights era generation, celebrating once again, oh, we showed those youngsters, we beat them down and put them in their place, and we did all that. I've never seen a bunch of older people celebrating their own people's demise, and they don't even realize it. That's how ignorant a lot of our older black elders are. They won't give up power. They just won't do it until they're dead. You actually have to carry them out in pine boxes just to have a say-so. They're not going out with dignity. If anything, it's kind of like the boxer that boxed too long, okay? One of my all-time favorite, greatest of all times, and a lot of people's greatest of all times fighter, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, everybody loved him. He backed everything he set up. The best thing about boxing, it's one-on-one, so you don't have to worry about a team. It's just you. So if you're talking shit out there, you have to back it up yourself. Nobody else is going to be out there to help you. And that's one of the great things about Muhammad Ali is he backed up what he said. But as beloved as Muhammad Ali was, right, what happened to Muhammad Ali? Well, we know he got the Parkinson's disease, which came on later. That's something totally different. But what actually happened to Muhammad Ali? We remember him and his last couple of fights where he wasn't great. Remember when Muhammad Ali started out? I mean, he was one of those heavyweights that moved. He actually moved when he boxed, But as the 70s and age comes on, notice that he wasn't a mover anymore. He didn't move as much. He basically took hits, absorbed hits, and then counterpunched and rope-a-doped and do all that great stuff, which they say could have also contributed to his Parkinson and possibly CT damage to his brain, right? And as Muhammad Ali got older after he retired, a great voice of the black community was silenced, okay? This is the problem with our civil rights generation people. Do they have good intentions? Some of them do. A majority of them do. But there are those Stevens. We got a lot of Stevens in the civil rights era group. There are more Stevens in that group than any other group since. Okay? So, we have these people who they think they're doing something well, but they're really not. They're really not. I'm 52 years old. The Generation Xers, leadership has actually passed above our generation going to the lower generations, right? My kids have a better chance of leadership of this country than I do. My grandkids have a better chance of leadership in this country than I do. Totally skipped over us because my parents' generation will not give up leadership. And they're leading us down an abyss to where, for all the accolades that they keep talking about, what they did in the civil rights movement has basically been wiped away because there has been no movement since. So everything that they did has really come to shit. Look at the black family. Look, what black family? What black family? Well, what am I saying? Did I say black family? It's become nothing. Black wealth, black communities. That's gone. There are no black communities anymore. We live in hoods. This is what the civil rights struggle was about. I sometimes sit and I contemplate, what would Dr. King think about integration now and where it's led us? You have black men and black women fighting each other. You've got these young black women that have been indoctrinated into a message that they don't need no man. They need to get out there and work. They can do it on their own. So we have the rise of these single mothers out here raising kids that are just totally lost. Let's go by the numbers, people. You know, you can sit here and argue your feelings all you want. The only thing in education, as you guys know, I am really big in education. I have 12 different degrees in several subjects. Doesn't mean that I'm a genius. It just means that I'm inquisitive. I like to learn things, okay? Doesn't mean I'm an expert. Or aeronautics, I'm an expert. I can say I'm an expert in aeronautics, okay? But you got these, you know, let's just go by the numbers. In academia, the only thing that cannot be manipulated in academia is numbers. You could make a noun and break it down and turn it around and use it, you know, in the vocabulary in English. You could read something in history and interpret it differently. You could read something in law and interpret it differently. A word could mean several things, especially in the English language. We are one of the only nations where a word could mean several different things depending on the connotation and how you use it. So, the only thing in academia that is universal around the globe is numbers. So let's get into the numbers. 70% of all black women are unmarried. That is a fact. 70% of all white women are married. That is a fact. Okay? Divorce in the United States is at 60%. That is a fact. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. I know people say, well, statistics, you could do this and you could do that. Sure you can. Of course you can. So, these older people are celebrating the loss of Marcel Dixon against Jim Clybourn. Marcel Dixon garnered approximately 5% of the vote. I believe it's 4.5 to be exact. But I believe, so let's round up. Let's say 5% of the vote. People say, oh, he lost, ha, ha, ha. Oh, Marcel, oh, these young kids don't know what they're doing. I beat the brakes off that young punk and whatever. What you just did, Representative Clybourn, is you have now set up your demise. What do I mean by that? Congressional members have to run for office every 2 years. What Marcel Dixon did, and let's not forget Tamara Johnson-Shealy, in these battleground states that are now so damn pivotal, people are paying attention. At 83 years old, JIMBO Clybourn, at 83 years old, do you see the writing on the wall now? People are looking at you like, okay, he brought out some very good points about you. You actually had to do something. Marcel Dixon, if you're listening, please, please stay active. You have 2 years to run again and get your grassroots thing going even stronger. And how I'm saying that is because I ran in a special election and I garnered some votes, but I didn't win. But because it was a special election, I had to run again. Because when you run the first time, not everybody knows you and they're just comfortable because they don't really know where you stand. But now people know who you are. Stay in the fight. You have 2 years to build and to challenge this man. Jim Clybourn would be a damn fool to run for re-election again. Because people are seeing this guy's 80-something years old. Do we engage in ageism? Absolutely not. But people are seeing what this man is doing and what he's not doing for his own people. It's just a matter of time. Now, I would say, looking at it, you've exposed this man for the bullshitter that he is. So Marcel Dixon, take a bow. Take a bow because you challenge the power establishment. And if you do decide not to run, because it does take a lot to run. You know, you got people out here talking about, oh, he ran a internet campaign and podcast campaign. But guess what? You talk to the people that matter. You talk to the people that are of the future. See, the old Democratic, the whole political establishment is always behind when it comes to reaching the people. They're always behind. So you're ahead of the game now. People know who you are. If you're going to still be in this game, and I hope you do, and challenge him one more time, you could beat him. But he would be a damn fool to run after having to bring down the Vice President of the United States to help him. With the war chest that he had, he still had to call in the Democratic machine. So who really won that election? Marcel Dixon, why y'all fucking with me? I don't even, I'll beat the brakes off him. Marcel Dixon ain't nothing to me. I ain't afraid of him. If you're not afraid of Marcel Dixon, JIMBO Clybourn, why did you have to bring in the Democratic machine to ensure you win? And we know there's some chicanery when it comes down to the votes. There is no way that this man garnered 5% of the vote. We know that, okay? You guys got away with what you're going to get away with, so be it. Your daughter being some kind of official in the Democratic Party of South Carolina, that's a conflict of interest within itself. So obviously, it took the whole Democratic establishment to defeat a man that only got 5% of the vote. Let's pivot to Tamara Johnson-Shealy. Here's a woman who has constantly ran at the grassroots level. The Democratic Party machine screwed her over when she was slated to beat the incumbent, put their own person in, and yet this woman still garnered over 100,000 votes. 100,000 votes. The Democratic machine in Georgia was so afraid of Tamara Johnson-Shealy in the primary, they didn't even want to debate her. And yet, Ralph Warnack is behind the polls against the Herschel Walker. Explain that. Let's just look at it from this angle. If Tamara Johnson-Shealy was the nominee, do you think she would be behind the polls right now against Herschel Walker? I don't think so. Truth to power. These people are political heroes. And if they do not continue, like myself, like I said, I ran and I was against the political machine, and I'm still against the political machine. And a lot of people in my neighborhood and in my district see me as a significant problem within the black community in regards to politics. Because I keep winning. I keep winning. I'm in a lawsuit right now. I was in a lawsuit previously. I won in regards to being assaulted at an event, at a political event. I won that, and I'm about to win a harassment lawsuit. Civil harassment. I'm being sued for civil harassment, which is totally untrue. But these are the tactics that the Democratic Party and political machines use against you to silence you and to bring you down. So, Marcel Dixon, Tamara Johnson-Shealy, and people like you, what you guys need to do now, if you decide not to run, because I'm going to tell you guys, it does take a lot. I live in the desert. It's very hot out here to knock on doors and do all those things, garner money, to fight political chicaneries. It takes a lot. So what I realized for me is I am more effective doing what I do right now and giving voice to those grassroots candidates that can't get into the political debate because the Democratic or the Republican machine closes them out. You got all of these podcasters out here, all of these video casters out here who are giving you the platform, if you want to speak, to come in and speak truth to power. And I'm a problem here. I'm a significant problem to the Democratic machine because I speak truth to power. And yet I don't seek political office. Everybody talks about, we don't, Donovan show, we don't listen to Donovan. But they can quote everything I say in my shows. And even use some of those things in litigation against me. So Marcel Dixon, Tamara Johnson-Shealy, if you do not choose to run again, please use your expertise and what you know about the political machine to educate the next grassroots candidate against the old guard. Please do that. Whenever somebody runs in my district or my area, I always contact them because, of course, my reputation precedes itself. And a lot of people think that, oh my God, don't go on this guy's show. He's going to cut your head off. And, you know, he's just this and he's just that, right? Now, who are the people that are always saying that? The Democratic machine. The Democratic machine is always saying that about me. You want to know why? Because I call them to the carpet and they don't like it. They do not like being held to the light. Why? Why? Because the trough of taxpayers' dollars is for them to eat off of as long as they possibly can to enrich themselves and to enrich their families. And it's amazing when I meet candidates for the first time, I mean, they are so afraid. If they, you know, even if they do come on my show. But then after the Democratic or the Republican machine tricks them and makes them think that they've got all this support and they really don't, then they realize, you know what? He isn't that bad. You know, what's wrong with actually answering real life questions? I took on the Democratic machine here against an assembly member named Cheryl Brown. She was the publisher of the second largest black publication in the United States in the county of San Bernardino called the Black Voice newspaper. She bought in to the bullshit, changed the Black Voice to The Voice, and she was running for re-election in her district. And she was caught with donors going to Hawaii 2 times with her donors, paid for by her donors. And next thing you know, she started getting the moniker of Chevron Cheryl Brown. Chevron Cheryl Brown is what she was called. So one day she asked me to meet with her, and I went down there and I met with her. And she was going against a woman named Eloise Reyes, who right now is the Democratic leader of the Assembly in California. And I was told by Chevron Cheryl Brown that, Donovan, if you do not support me, this seat will never be black again. Now remember, I live in Riverside County. This is in San Bernardino County, right on the edge. I mean, San Bernardino County is probably like 6 miles away from my house, right, the border. And I told Cheryl, well, we wouldn't be having this discussion if you were doing your job now, would we? Would we? Why is it in California you can specifically see the difference between Democratic areas and Republican areas? You can literally see and tell what's a Democratic area and what's a Republican area. Why is that? So basically, Cheryl was basically asking me for my support. And as I just explained to you guys, I live in a totally different county. I can't vote for her, so I have no dog in the fight. But if I'm going to support somebody, I'm going to support somebody who's actually going to do something for their people. I'm not going to let you use my platform to spew bullshit. It's not going to happen, because I'm going to call you out on it. So I supported Eloise Reyes in the election, and Eloise Reyes won overwhelmingly. Now, I'm not saying because I supported her, that is why she won. I mean, I'm a small portion of why she won. Because a lot of people, you know, they go with what they know. Cheryl Brown, a black lady, I'm gonna vote for the black lady. Just because somebody looks like you doesn't mean they're for you. Now, just like as I told you guys, Eloise Reyes is the #1 Democrat in the Assembly, other than the Speaker of the House. She is the majority leader of the Assembly of California. I know her. I'm very familiar with her. We see each other at functions. I am a big supporter of Eloise Reyes, and I post her stuff on my platform so that other constituents could see. Even though they might not be in her district, they can see what a real public servant looks like. Her name's Eloise Reyes. I want you guys to think about that. The number 2 Democrat in the state. Number 2 in the state. Well, you know what? That would make her number 3, because let's say Gavin Newsom, Speaker of the House, Eloise Reyes. So she would be number 3. Very powerful position. She controls the agenda of what goes on in California. I could pick up the phone right now and call Eloise Reyes. I will get her staff, because she's a very busy woman, but Eloise Reyes will call me back within a decent amount of time and listen to what I have to say. Doesn't mean she's going to do it. My point is, I got her ear. Why would I have a problem with somebody who's doing their job? Eloise Reyes knows at any time she needs me to come and support her, I will do so. There's nothing wrong with you making a few extra bucks on the side. We know how the system works. Everybody understands, and nobody has a problem with you guys, you public servants, making a few bucks on the side. The problem comes is when we look like we're living in shit and you're living in a mansion. That's where the problem comes in. When it's too obvious. So I'm going to tell Marcel Dixon and Tamara Johnson Shealy, use the knowledge that you have learned navigating through the political waters, the shark-infested political waters, to educate other grassroots runners. You didn't lose this race. If you got to think about it, if it takes somebody to call in the so-called second most powerful person on the earth for you to be defeated, you've done something. You have done something. And in regards to Tamara Johnson Shealy, Ralph Warnack always has to invoke Martin Luther King. I sit at Martin Luther King's church. He has to invoke a civil rights icon just to beat you. And then he doesn't even want to challenge you in a public debate. That's how scary he was of you. So you guys didn't actually lose. You did not lose. How does a regular person that could be anybody like me, like you, or anybody else, because that's what Marcel Dixon and Tamara Johnson Shealy are. They are real, actual people that care and have the same problems as you do. The same exact problems. They don't live in this, well, I went to Howard University and I worked at law firm of so-and-so logistics. No, these are regular people. Marcel Dixon is a teacher. Tamara Johnson Shealy is a beautician, barber by trade. Yes, they're educated. Yes, they have degrees. But they're regular people. And it took invoking a civil rights icon to defeat Tamara Johnson Shealy. It took the Vice President of the United States to be invited to make sure Jim Clybourn won his seat. By my definition, that means the Democratic Party shook. They're shook. Because if these were nobodies, you wouldn't need to do that. You wouldn't need to do that. So in regard, let me close out my Cheryl Brown story. For all the butter biscuits that she was willing to take and all the money she was willing to take and sell her integrity, we don't even see the Voice newspaper anymore. Legacy sold, gone, no respect. And this is what a lot of our civil rights era folks have done. They have basically shit on their own legacy and legacies that were put there before them. And they don't give a damn about anybody coming after them. Because they figure, well, you know, I had my day in the 70s. I was humping and fucking and smoking dope and doing all the good stuff. And now I'm an old person. Now I'm old. Nor do I care. Because people like me, you know, I can't be bought. Well, you know what? Let me stop lying to you guys. I do believe everybody has a price. I do believe that. And I remember dealing with a developer, and we were talking in my city as we went through these things called the WLC wars. And we were just laughing and joking it up, and he was on the other side of the issue that I was on. We were basically political enemies. And he asked me, he said, Donovan, what would it take for you to get out of politics? I said, oh, about $5 million. He laughed. We took a ha 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 ha. No, seriously, Donovan, what would it take? I said $5 million. And the reason I said $5 million is the fact that, number one, I knew he wouldn't ever try to put up that kind of money. And number two is, if I'm going to ruin my family name and ruin my integrity, I think $5 million is enough to, you know, to compensate me to do that. But yet, when we had these things called the WLC wars here in my city, you had black pastors that were selling out for tripe Saturday dinners, $2,000 donations. Some of them probably got $15,000 donations. I don't know. But where I come from, $15,000 is not enough for my family name and my integrity. But a lot of them ended up doing that. And a lot of them almost lost their 503Cs because I called the IRS on their asses and showed the IRS what they were doing. It's just a shame. It's just a shame how people will sell their souls for a few bits of silver. I can't be bought. My mom's legacy and what she left for my brother and I am thankful for the sacrifices that my mother did as a widowed mother. And I'm enjoying the fruits of her labor right now. And I am more than thankful that my mom had the foresight and the knowledge. Now, this is a woman who only graduated high school, lost her husband at a young age, had to raise 2 sons. The very first house my mother ever bought, I'm living in right now. It is my childhood home. And I am so thankful that I have the blessing to enjoy the fruits of her labor right now. You know, I'm not going to wait, you know, I mean, this is the thing. And this is the analogy of what I'm trying to get these older people to understand. It's going to be too late by the time that you give up power or you're dead for us and the generations after you to make it. You want to know why? Because we are not being put in a position so that we can learn how to do it and how to survive. So in the analogy of my mother, could I have gone and got my own home? Absolutely. I can still do that right now. But why would I want to do that? I live in California, which is expensive enough to live here. It's expensive to live in California. And that is why you don't see a lot of black people in California anymore. We are less than 6% of the population now. In the 1970s, we were about 18% of the population of California. I'm talking about southern and northern. We are now less than 6% because it is atrocious to live here. People can't afford it. We are half the homeless population here. Why? You want to know why? Because Big Mama let us go ahead and smoke weed and live in her house rent-free without teaching us responsibility. Or if she did teach us responsibility, she looked the other way while we were being irresponsible. Daddy on drugs or in and out of prison because he doesn't want to take care of his responsibilities. That's the civil rights generation. You can't blame that on any other generation. That's the civil rights generation. Thus, with, let's say, grandmama has a house. And it happened here in California a lot. And my dad, you know, my dad is dead. I'm using my dad as an example. My father is in and out of jail. What did Big Mama put up for collateral when Daddy went to jail? Her baby boy went to jail. She put up the house. And then what did Dad do? Parole violation, mom loses the house. Now it's up for sheriff's sale. This is how we started losing our wealth. Irresponsibility, nobody teaching us. So when I decided to get out of the military, I said, why should I have to buy a house, go get another job to pay for the house for the next 30 years? That means by the time I pay for it, I'll be 70, in my 70s, which would have been no problem if that's what I had to do. But I looked at my mom after renting this house out and being destroyed after renter, and I said, you know what? No, we're not doing that no more. We're not doing that. I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to retire over here at March Air Reserve Base. The house is there. You know, blah, 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 blah. This is what I'm going to do, whatever. I would have rather taken my money and reinvested it into the property that was. And thus, my family home that I grew up in, well, basically grew up in, this is my mom's first home. We ended up going to Japan shortly after she bought the house. Is one of the best and most efficient houses on the block. And how did I know how to do what I got to do? Because I would call my mom and she would teach me. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. What about the windows? Every time my mom would tell me something that I needed to do in regards to the house, I did. Not that I didn't know it, but the number one thing my mother taught me, which a lot of the baby boomers do not teach, the civil rights era people are not teaching their kids the most important thing. Pay the damn property tax. I don't think it's too much to have to pay property tax so I don't lose the house. The number one reason black people have lost their wealth is because they lost the house. And the number one reason why they lose the house is the kids do not understand property tax and its importance. You want to know why? They never had to pay a bill. Mama or daddy never told them about the property tax. All the kids know, when you ask a basic kid, they think it's just rent or a mortgage. Sometimes you got to have insurance. Well, no, you don't. Well, let me say that better. You have to have insurance on your home. You have to. Something bad goes awry. So by that analogy, looking at that analogy incorporated into, let's say, politics, it's the same thing. If you're not teaching us and we are not progressing as a people, how do you expect us to survive? You being 83 years old, 90-something years old, is not what is best for the people. It's not. You got to let go and let the next generation move up. Because what's going to happen is by the time that the civil rights era people are gone, we don't have any leaders except the boule and the ones that have sold out and have no integrity. And then it will just be a matter of time before the gas ovens are built, before we realize they are hot. And that's how it is in politics. So did Marcel Dixon actually lose? In my opinion, no, he didn't. He actually won, because now the writing is on the wall for JIMBO Clybourn. The writing's on the wall. It's a matter of time now. It's a matter of time. Tamara Johnson Shealy, it's going to be a matter of time before either she or somebody she works with unseats local candidates in their area. It's a win. One thing roaches don't like is when you shed light on them. What do they do when you shed light on insects? They scatter. They scatter. And that's what politicians do when you show their record. How many of you guys remember a couple years ago, John Lewis was still alive, and I did a podcast, and I'm still doing the podcast, Black Politicians Ain't Shit. And I would just pick a random black politician and show you their record. I put up John Lewis's record, and everybody came to me, how dare you? He's an icon. He got his ass whooped so you can do what you're doing. People came for me. But regardless of them coming for me, the point was, am I lying? Am I lying? Nobody could say I was. His political record versus his civil rights record. Two different things. He spent twice as much time working for the Democratic Party than he did working for black people. I challenge anybody to challenge me on his record. Show me in his record where he has done anything for black people other than name post offices and give his buddies civil rights medals. But he's on record for immigration. He's on record for everybody else. JIMBO Clybourn says he's been working on reparations for 30 years. Working on it. 30 years. But he just gave the $5 Indian tribe a bill that he authored that got them $30 billion or $30 million or something like that. But I'm the problem. Marcel Dixon is the problem. Tamara Johnson Shealy is the problem. I don't think it's a loss. I think it's a win. Because when you've got one in one area, you got one in another area, and it's just a matter of time. The clock is now ticking. We are in the 2-minute drill, Mr. Clybourn. We are in the 2-minute drill, Maxine Waters. I mean, you can no longer sit on those seats and have no results. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. So all you have is what's left of your integrity and your dignity. And if I were you, I would do what, what's his name did up in Chicago, Bobby Seals. He saw the writing on the wall and he left. Whenever your party is in power, your losses in the House and in the Senate, or retirements and stuff, are very minimum because you're in power. Why are all these people leaving? Because the writing's on the wall. They can no longer hide their record. They can no longer hide their inefficiency, their negligence. They can no longer hide it. Jim Clybourn is on the clock. We're in the 2-minute drill. I strongly hope Marcel Dixon challenges or prepares the next person to run against Jim Clybourn again. Hopefully it's Marcel Dixon. You need to run again. Because everybody knows who you are now. When I ran the second time, I got double the votes I got the first time. Did I win? No, I didn't win. I didn't win. Of course, I live in a predominantly Hispanic area, and if you are black or white, the chances of you winning in this city is slim to none, okay? But that's supposedly how democracy is supposed to work, right? So, Marcel Dixon, you're a winner in my book. You're a winner in my book. They threw everything at you. You know, here are these people, civil rights era people, who are bringing up your sexuality. You told us what your sexuality is. So what? You've got to be desperate when you are throwing everything you can at a person that just keeps calling out your basic record that you can't run from. His sexuality. So what? So what? Have at it. So you mean to tell me, Jim Clybourn, you had to call the Vice President of the United States, according to what you're saying, to help you beat a gay man? But yet you're quick to call him gay. But you had to call a woman vice president to help defend against this gay man. So I don't even know or understand what the narrative was bringing up his sexuality. Oh, he's gay. He's gay. Oh, my record don't mean nothing about it, but he gay. But he gay. So what? You look like Uncle Ruckus, in my opinion. You act like Uncle Ruckus, in my opinion. And what I mean by act is you're quick to represent everybody else but your own kind. You are the living embodiment of an Uncle Ruckus. You have the same hairstyle. You have the same gray. You have the same mannerisms. Why y'all fucking with me? Why y'all fucking with me? You love the white man so much, you are willing to sell out your own people for the benefit of a few silver coins. So sad. Marcel Dixon, Tamara Johnson Shealy. These are your next leaders in the political realm. Know those names, because they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. If you are running in Georgia and you need political advice, Tamara Johnson Shealy. She has a show on YouTube. Put her name in. Hey, a lot of knowledge there. A lot of knowledge. Marcel Dixon. Look him up on social media. A lot of stuff. And I'm going to say this to both of them. When I started my show, after I lost my election, everybody laughed. Because I did it, basically, I used to watch the Young Turks when they first started out, and he had his little camera and he's in the garage. I used to watch Phil Scott when he was started his shows with the African Diaspora Channel, but way before that. And he was doing it in his bathroom with the shower curtain behind him. And here it is years later, and I know Philip Scott really good, because he deals with my friend Demetra Kay, and they work together. It's just a small world and a small community. Saw Tamara Johnson Shealy, contacted her, had her on the show. Awesome lady. I didn't get around to Marcel, but the next round I'm definitely going to reach out to him and get around to him, but I supported him wholeheartedly. But don't lose heart, because I was in my garage and I started, because I saw the Young Turks and what Phil Scott and those guys were doing. And I said, I'm just going to just keep speaking my truth, because 3 minutes at a city council meeting is not enough to talk about what you want to talk about and say. So keep going. Keep the pressure on him. Put your knee on his neck, because we know he didn't do nothing about the George Floyd bill. He's been working on reparations for 30 years. So keep the pressure on. And I remember it, and you can see some of my old videos. It's really funny too, and I look back on them. And that's when I think it was Windows 98 was out, or Windows 2000. I think I got the 2000. Remember we used to have the video maker that came with the operating system? And that's what I was using. And everybody would see it, and it was like, oh my God, he's in his garage. He's just yelling and screaming. And here I am today, still doing it and trying to do it the right way. But hey, you guys, don't forget to check me out with Demetra Kay on Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the Demetra Kay Show. I'm a contributing producer there. I'm here in the city of Moreno Valley. You can find me at the city council meetings. If I'm not at the city council meetings, I'm watching. You can find me running around the city. Please check out my podcast, Black Politicians Aren't Shit. And you guys can catch me anytime. I'm on iHeartRadio. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm known as the IE Informer. Internationally known as a recovering Democrat. I am a recovering Democrat. So Marcel Dixon, Tamara Johnson Shealy, you guys are winners in my book. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. Everything's going to be all right. We'll check you guys out again next time. Peace.